Today's story is a real horror experience submitted by a Korean netizen. This happened when she was younger, back when she still lived in her childhood home, a remote town tucked away in a county in the southern part of Jeollanam-do. The county itself was vast, yet sparsely populated, covering an area of 663.35 square kilometers. But even today, it has only about 37,149 residents. To put that into perspective, Taipei City, Taiwan, is just 271.8 square kilometers, less than half the size of this county, but it holds a staggering 2.48 million people. In other words, her hometown wasn't just rural. It was the kind of place where human presence was truly scarce. And in places like that, the stories that circulate tend to be particularly eerie. I was 17 at the time, living in a small town where strange occurrences were almost routine. The village elders had passed down countless taboos. Certain paths we must never take after dark, thresholds we should never step on, bodies of water we should never approach after 6 in the evening. We had grown up hearing these rules, and perhaps because of that, we had always managed to coexist, however uneasily, with them. But that day, we forgot those rules. The school had hosted a farewell party for the seniors, who were about to leave for prestigious city schools. The atmosphere was lively and celebratory. My friend Anne suggested that after the event, we should gather a few people and head to the river for a swim. After all, the place wasn't far from the village, and we'd gone there many times before without incident. There was nothing to be afraid of. So, we set off on foot. When we arrived, I noticed an old wooden sign by the riverbank. The red paint on it had faded and chipped, giving it the eerie appearance of dried blood. The words scrawled across it read, "You must leave immediately after 6 o'clock." The writing was uneven, as if hastily painted. I didn't think much of it, brushing it off as just another superstition from the village elders. So we continued forward, eager to enjoy our night. Time passed quickly, and before we realized it, the sun had set. Darkness crept over the land. Yet, we remained by the river, chatting idly on the shore, paying no heed to the warning. Anne's cousin, Beck, was especially enthusiastic. Even as the sky darkened, he continued swimming, showing no intention of stopping. That was when I noticed something, or rather, someone emerging from the distant trees. A young man was slowly approaching us. He was strikingly handsome, but his skin was unnaturally pale. There was a faint smile on his lips as he studied us, his gaze unreadable. Then he raised a hand and waved. A chill crawled up my spine. I turned to Anne and whispered, "Who is that? Do you know him?" Anne frowned, watching him for a few seconds before shaking her head.
No idea.
His footsteps were eerily light. I could barely hear them against the grass. As he drew closer, my body tensed involuntarily. That was when I saw them. His toes. There was webbing between them. The gaps between his toes were unnaturally wide, like those of an aquatic creature. Beck casually greeted him, but by then, every hair on my body was standing on end. Something was wrong. The young man stopped just beside us. Tilting his head slightly, he offered a gentle smile and asked in a soft voice,
"You look pale. Are you okay?"
I forced a smile and replied, "Thanks, I'm fine." But when I lowered my gaze again, my breath caught in my throat. My heart slammed against my ribs. His toenails were long, curved, and razor sharp. like an animal's claws. I didn't dare look at his feet any longer. We needed to leave. Now. I whispered, "Let's go." Anne must have sensed something too, because she gave a slight nod. We hurriedly gathered our things, preparing to leave. But just as we turned, the young man spoke again.
Leaving so soon? Why not stay a little longer?
His tone was still warm and friendly, yet an invisible pressure bore down on me. I felt as if something was watching us, something we couldn't see. I didn't answer. Instead, I subtly tugged on Anne's sleeve, urging her forward. I whispered for everyone to ignore him. Yet, even as we feigned deafness, his voice persisted. Gentle at first, but gradually turning hoarse, rasping, then dripping with an eerie amusement.
Do you know what happens when you ignore me? You won't escape, because by now, you must realize what I really am. Don't you?
Panic surged through me. I didn't think. I just ran. But no matter how far we ran, we never seemed to leave the riverbank. We were trapped. My lungs burned. My heartbeat pounded in my ears, drowning out all other sound. A thought flashed through my mind. I need to hide. I ducked into a thick patch of grass, holding my breath. But just as I tried to steady myself, a voice whispered right beside my ear.
You can't run, little girl. I know you saw my feet.
I lifted my head and met his eyes. He was staring right at me, his lips curling into a chilling grin. The last thing I saw before everything went black was the glint of his fangs. When I woke up, I was in my home. My parents and the village shaman were standing by my bedside. My father told me that the villagers had found me unconscious by the river. But when I asked what had happened, they refused to say a word. Back then, the elders never spoke of such things. No matter how many times I pressed them, they remained tight-lipped. What was even stranger, Beck was nowhere to be found. He had vanished without a trace. And on Anne's arm was a deep, claw-like wound. I asked her what had happened. She only remained silent. What exactly took place that night? To this day, the only thing that lingers in my mind is the look in that young man's eyes, and the sinister grin he wore as he bared his fangs. That's all for today's story. Did you enjoy it? A big thank you to our Korean friend for sharing this chilling tale. So, what do you think? Was the young man a ghost? Or perhaps a spirit of the mountain or river? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you want to see my videos faster, please like and subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon to get new video updates.